gonna shut your door.
Nope, it's okay. Okay, it's gonna be all right. Okay.
Can I shut your door?
I don't like it, but if you are going to, we can do that for a little while. I can compromise for a while.
Okay. No,
I like
fine.
the fresh air.
I
What's going on with you?
Well, my back is to the door and it's dark out. There could be a murderer.
Oh, you can close the door then.
But I can
I'll
maybe open
compromise.
some windows.
I'll compromise for Let's
Okay.
do that. See, I like to know like why we're doing the compromise.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Well, I
Well,
know
and
you.
that's
I
like-
know you know because
Yeah.
then it's like helpful to say it out loud because it's like confirming of how I've lived my life forever.
No, I totally get it. And like the fresh air like also makes more sense because like that's a valid reason right now where a hypothetical murderer like isn't
No,
realistic,
but it also
like,
can be very, very real. There's also a lock on the screen door too, but like if it was a murderer and they wanted to get us, like
well, I'm just gonna like deadbolt it, but I can open this window to bring in the fresh air from the
there's
side.
one by my mom's. Yeah, if you can get that one and then like my mom's window. See, I like this. We can compromise so easily. It's great.
But I think of it as not compromising but collaborating.
Ooh, even better.
Yeah, because we learned in so I have a degree in communications, and I remember when we were talking.
That's okay if that other one doesn't go. Just like
Okay.
2 is good.
Okay, so then yeah, and so we talked
And I'll
about
have to pee after a little bit again.
okay.
Feel it.
So when we were talking about what was I gonna say? Things about like disagreements and conflict, it was like, what's the best resolution for conflict? And like everyone in the class was like compromising, and she goes, actually no, the best solution for a conflict is collaboration. And I was like, oh my god, I love it.
Yeah, it makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's why that makes a lot of sense. Because if we're running on the premise of like compromising versus collaborating, that's like a problem already.
Yeah, and I think
like
too,
that's where
and
if that's where our mind goes as a society, like we need some evolution to be like, oh
well,
no.
it's not so much a society thing as much as like people are bitches and like can't handle confrontation or conflict. And you get a lot of individuals like that, and together they form a people. And I love persons, but people, not a fan sometimes. Not a fan. But also, I do think too, like compromise is okay, but I think like if someone doesn't have to, I think collaboration is better. But like compromise isn't bad, but I think collaboration is better. Anyway, yeah, I digress. So, hold on, we're backtracking. No, we're not backtracking. I want to circle back to something you said about prior to the whole door thing. What were you talking about?
I have no idea. But now I'm thinking about the wallpaper situation.
I was kind of thinking that too,
That'd be
actually.
kind of fun to plan, like, or if you have ideas. So, like, the other thing is that if I can have like surface level things, like even I was almost thinking of like a little working space, like a drive up board that's almost like a desk, but not a desk. But then again, that's like.
But also, why don't you want to use that?
I can't like roll underneath it with my knees jam. I can use that one. I guess that's not that big of a deal. But what would be good, I guess, things on the walls, like I can use the walls.
So yes, but you have those two things that pull out. So maybe you could just kind of like if you wanted me or someone else to take that middle desk, slide it over, take that desk and put it by that desk, then both of those have that pull out thing. So then you could put your legs underneath of it.
That's true. I'll think about it. I'll pull around because like it tilts and like I haven't played around with them enough actually. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, but if you have those two
and
together,
like you're right. Like there's a lot of surfaces. I just have a thing with like books, surfaces, and like.
No, I know, and like I'm the same way, and that's why I'm saying like my experience is you're gonna want to take everything with you, and it's gonna fit perfectly, and you're gonna be like, yeah, I have it, and then you're gonna be like, I can't move, and it's like I want to move.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think
it's
I get it.
This is gonna be hard. It's just I mean like yes and no. Like it's good and there are a lot of benefits to like where it's like have to do this, and for me, these are going to be things I have to sacrifice or compromise on. Like,
no, and it sucks.
Absolutely.
And I think, and it also sucks when you're like making the best out of a like less than ideal situation,
right?
Because it's like if you're gonna put so much work into something, it should be putting like in my mind, it's like I want to put into work into like something that I actually want, not like making the best out of a shitty situation.
Thank you. Like once in my life, like I mean, I can't complain because when I was with my ex-husband, like I had the opportunity, I had the house, and I did the little wifey thing, and then I realized the wifey thing wasn't like whatever.
Yeah.
But there was like. I know what you mean. There's just not like that energy or finances to like truly. I think progressively it'll happen, or like finding a cool wallpaper would be really nice.
Yeah,
like you said,
well, I
think
redid
that would
my
help
cards.
me feel better just to like have a few things where I have it in control, maybe,
and like making it like your own. You know, like making it fun versus like necessary. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And because I was actually, well, side note, I also like redid my car setup probably 20 times, like over whatever, but like building shit, like I built a bed frame at least 10 times before I found what I liked, and like
my God,
then I redid it a couple, like, so I mean, you're gonna redo it a lot. I'm just letting you know that like space is gonna be way more valuable than stuff in that situation. But also, no,
and it's like there's space to store shit up there.
No, I was talking to Linda was telling me something the other day too, because I was like letting her know about like PDA a little bit. Was it pathological demand avoidance? Whatever. I digress.
Yes.
So, and she goes, well, we all have to do stuff that we don't want to.
Demand avoidance.
Thank you. And she's like, well, we all have to do stuff we don't want to do sometimes. And I was like, actually,
like,
you know what?
I
go, well, we're going therapy route. Yes, and so I was like, I was like, not necessarily. I go, because for me, I don't force myself to do things I don't want to do, which that's not true. I totally do sometimes. But like, it's like, I try to think of like, okay, I don't want to do this. What could I do to make myself want to do this? Because it's like, ooh, I don't want to get out of bed. What can I do to make myself want to get out of bed? Eat. I want to go eat. Or it's like, I need to clean. What can I do to make myself want to clean? Maybe go live, maybe blare music, maybe wait till someone's over and like can just sit there with me while I do it.
Right.
And so I think having that mentality of like, oh, I don't want to do this, let me push through. No, you're pushing through like life that sucks ass right now. Right. Like that's enough push through. Like let's make this fun and exciting, and let's make you want to versus like need to. Right. You know, because it's not that fucking hard.
Right. And then that's just a mind. Well, yeah.
It is a mindset, but also
that's
it's not your.
Like I stop.
But it's not your. Because here's the thing: is people like talk about mindset and mind shift or whatever. You're living in your own fucking mind. You're not gonna necessarily be able to shift your own mind without help, like a lot of the times, because it's like if you could, you would have. You know what I mean? And so I think like having like other people like throwing ideas back and forth and giving other like input and stuff out there can be helpful. Now, if people are assholes and it's like, well, I already told you my idea, like then, you know, fuck yourself. But like me, like I give out great ideas and shitty ideas all the time. Half my ideas like I don't even fucking like. And so, you know, I think just kind of like being able to think out loud and then, you know, is helpful.
That's super helpful.
And also try shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe you put up a wallpaper and then like 10 minutes later you decide, no, I don't like that. And like whatever. Maybe you want to paint a mural in there.
Right. Well, I used to force myself to do shit all the time, and there were there's sometimes you just have to, there's things that are going to come up, and I think of, like, this changing, like, where I had to shift, like spoons, like, it's like, okay, what am I actually going to do, though? Like, this will drive me nuts if I don't do this, but also at the same time, like, I only have this much to work with. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to have to, like, live in this.
Yeah. And I think finding like a good support team is really helpful because like I said, like Kristen, when she kind of took charge this morning and was like, when's the last time you ate? Like she also wasn't, because there are people like in my life who think that they're helping by saying like, Kate, you need to eat something and like ending it there. It's like, okay, but like Kristen said that, but then she got me waffles. She put them in the toaster. She started like cooking for me. Because there's a difference between like someone giving you tough love, or there's a difference between tough love and just being tough. It's like, I know I need to do all of those things. The problem is I'm not doing them by myself. So unless you're going to yell at me, like, just like, or unless you're going to help me, don't say my own thoughts out loud. I know the problem is like, I'm not able to do that by myself. And so having someone who's like, yeah, I get you're not able to do it by yourself. Like, let's get it together.
Right.
And
I love when you told me that about how like supportive they were, and like prompting and not accusatory, but like, hey, like, these are some things. Let's like get this moving. Let's like do this and let's do that. Like with Shane, like I learned a whole bunch because it's something about how to navigate like us both having neurodivergency and like having to work together where I'm not getting overstrained, but at the same time, like he's still going through the path of like things to get him out the door and stuff.
Yeah, and I think open communication is the best thing too, because also like coming at it from a way of like someone's like, you don't want to make anyone unhappy or whatever. It's okay that people are unhappy. Like Jordan and I, like we lived together for 4 years and we'd piss each other off all the time, and then we'd yell at each other and then it'd be fine. And like, so I think, not saying that that's a healthy environment for everybody, but like I think that you know, being able to just freely express yourself and whatever, because that's the thing with Kristen and I too. Like, then she was at her computer later and I was like telling her something. She goes, Kate, I'm so sorry, I can't right now. I'm like, oh, don't be sorry, I got it. No talking. Like, cool. So it's like, I don't know. I think that when you have people who just love and accept you for who and how you are, like, yeah, there are times when like they might piss you off, but there's not that like she's not saying that shit to hurt my feelings. So I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. And same with the like tough love stuff. The other thing I have an issue with is when somebody is helping you and like they throw out the word, well, I don't want to be an enabler. Like, I just kind of want to say, like, like, I hate that terminology, especially when it like comes to mental health and stuff like that. But like, also that's not up to you to decide. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're helping me and my life is getting better, you're not enabling me. If you're helping me and my life is getting worse, then it's enabling. But like, let's look at like what's actually happening. An enabler like helps someone like fuck their shit up. Like, if you're helping someone and they're getting better, that's not enabling. And then two, the other part is like when someone helps and it's like, yeah, and you're eventually going to be able to do this on your own. It's like, okay, so now you're putting like what I want to say, now you're putting like strings attached. It's like, what if I need this kind of help forever? So basically you're telling me there's an end date to your support. Like, fuck you. And like, it's so hard because like, I can't tell people this, but like in my mind, and I mean, amazing people say this all the time too. Like, it's not their fault. Like, they don't know the things they're saying are like fucked up, but I just kind of think to myself, I'm like, that's fucked up, but like, I'll keep it to myself now. And then apparently bitch about it on the internet later. But like, that is something that drives me so fucking nuts. It's just like, because I'm big on like, I want to help you help yourself. I want people to help me help myself. That does not mean enabling. That does not mean there is a time limit.
And everybody's level of support looks different. Like, for some people, it may be like they have an acute, like, let's just make it physical for a moment. Like, if somebody has a car accident and maybe they need like services for a short period of time. But then you have people, a whole other community, whether it's mental health or whether it's with physical or both. And there's a lot of overlap with that need stuff long term. Well, and particularly if you're dealing with something like that's like you can't change.
And that's kind of something that like,
it's like, what do you want me to do?
And that's something that scares me, because me pretending like everything was okay and not needing help is what got me to the point that like I was at before. And like, that's not good. And so it's one of those things of like, well, eventually you'll be able to do these things on your own. It's like, actually, like, no, I probably won't, because like I never have. And I literally like got to a point where I was like homeless. And so it's also kind of one of these things. It's like, okay, so me getting help and me getting like better means that like you're have this expectation of like who I'm going to be and what I'm going to be able to do and all that in your mind. It's like, I'm not trying to live up to your fictional expectations. But also like, I feel like,
or because you look a certain way, people think that like all of a sudden boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Like they whatever their subjective experience is somehow your reality all the
Yeah,
time.
and it's like
and that has life altering it's like it could kill somebody.
And it's like
it does kill people.
Yeah, and like you and I both, it's like we don't give off the whole like damsel in distress vibes. So
no,
like when
it's like
we
very
say,
much like fuck you, I will like hurt you if you.
but it's one of those things of like, so when we say we need help, like
it's too late for me. It's already been too late. I'm getting better, but like.
But it's one of those things of it's just kind of like people don't take it seriously or they don't like whatever, and it pisses me off because it's just like, okay, I guess I'll just go fuck myself. Like like I'm not like I'm you know what I mean?
And like for me, I don't say it in a tone of like even if I'm in a crisis, like
Same.
I will, and I think that's part of the problem. And so like there's this less urgency.
No, like when I was
like other people think that there's less urgency that unless people like get to know me and then know like, oh no, like even when I say I'm fine, like I had this discussion today of like my I'm fine is I'm like, oh, that's like me at like a 5 or 6 pain level and like multiple things going wrong. Like my knee was going out of place, my hip was going out of place same day. I was like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Like,
Jordan told me
but
when we were living together.
I'm fine. Like that's like that is my clear, open, literal community. Like
so same. Jordan, one time I was I had like stabbed myself in the ear and it's like bleeding out and I like had this like gauze and I couldn't get it unwrapped and I like go to Jordan and he's like on a work call. I'm like, Jordan, I need you to get this. Jordan, I need you to get this. Jordan, I need you to get this. And he like looked up at me and there's just like blood pouring like out of my ear. He's like, oh my God. And like did it and whatever. And then he like got it and it was fine. And then later he's like, I'm so sorry. I know that when you get really, really calm, it means something's wrong.
Thank you.
But like we lived together for 4 years.
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? So it took a while to get to that point. But it is something that, and like Kristen's the same way. Like she knows that like when I go quiet, when I go calm, like not good. And so it's one of those, like I wish people would listen, but also when you are like, I feel like there are people that like kind of have a savior complex and there's this mentality of like, I'm going to fix you and I'm going to make everything better. And
I just remind me, I gotta tell you.
And it's like I don't want I want help with who I am now, how I am now, without this type of like I don't want to live up to these like expectations
that you're never gonna be able to meet, like that aren't even realistic. Like,
it's like I'm never gonna be able to do certain things.
Like insurance tries to pull this bullshit like that, all of a sudden you can magically like pull shit out of your ass that's not even never gonna be there.
And like maybe I can do things now that I wasn't able to do like years ago, months ago,
but
whatever.
But I didn't.
Yeah, like, but I didn't know that. And like if I would have had like a therapist tell me like, oh, one day you're going to get to how you are now, none of my treatment would have worked. And that's another issue I have with people who aren't fucking therapists, like get like trying to help people with mental health, because like you don't know how much like these little nuanced things you're saying fuck someone up. And it's like, oh, well, I didn't mean anything by it. No shit. You did it. And you're not, and it's like, and you're not trained to. There are professionals and doctors who are trained. You're not,
like,
so don't.
The front line,
like, just shut
the front
up.
line of who usually you'll get a call to is the front desk people who have no mental health background, or like same in the medical situation. If you're calling the front desk, like you're getting people who are non-medical, which is one of my biggest peeves. I know I'm not just talking, but it like made me think about those situations.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you how many times I would get a call from somebody when I did case management that they were like, oh, this person's like talking about wanting to like kill themselves and I don't know what to do. And they were freaking out. I was like, please get like transfer me like fucking right now.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, I'm like pulling up the help like desk and all this stuff because we had a protocol we would follow. But I worked with mental health all the time. So they knew, and I was like, do not fuck around.
And sometimes
like that could kill somebody, like
and people don't know how dangerous shit is.
Yeah, like one thing saying wrong, or just like freaking out when somebody's saying like I have a plan, but like for them that's normal, but they're reaching out because like they just need to like work through it.
Yeah, and
like being like freaking out is just going to escalate, like not help, and then somebody.
Or like one of my biggest things too is like if I'm in the middle of like an emotional intensity episode or a delusion or something and someone tries to like bring me back to reality, like that is so not I'm not saying everyone with BPD is this way or not, but like because there are people who are not trained in mental health, like you need to know when it's the point is like you don't know and you have to accept that you're a fucking dumbass and like get someone
like,
who does,
step away,
because like
step
taking
away.
me out of my delusions is like way more harmful than good sometimes, and like can like put my safety and other people's safety in jeopardy. Like that's not the case right now, but like there's like, and when people are just like, oh well, I didn't mean anything by that, whatever, it's like, yes, I know you didn't mean anything by it, and that's why it's so harmful, because like you're doing more harm than good, and like you should not be giving anybody with mental health like advice. Like just shut up. Like if you really want to help someone and be helpful, not feel helpful, because everyone loves to fucking feel helpful, but not be helpful. Listen to what they're saying. Say, I need help with laundry. I need help with this. It's like, well, I don't want to help you with laundry, but like I would love to sit with you while you like do all of this. It's like, well, maybe they don't need help with that. But also it's like, or if someone's saying like, if I say like I need help like calling a place and someone's like, okay, I'll sit with you while you do it, sometimes I have to be like, no, like I just need you to call them. I can't.
Thank you.
And I think like people, and then there's that
whole
like
oh, don't stop. If I'm forced to call at that point, it will go into a whole like,
it's like I have to scratch off the rest of my day.
I can't even speak.
Like the rest of my day is fucked.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes
and
too.
then my brain's fucked, and then I get emotionally all like, because then I'm like,
and people, and that's
then I fuck up, and then I hurt like my brain.
And that's what pisses me off when people are like, well, I don't want to enable you.
To calm down when that happens.
Well, no, I know. That's a whole other thing. But that's the other part, too, when people are like, well, I don't want to enable you. Enabling me to what? Like, my life's not getting worse because I'm calling,
like,
right?
What am I benefiting?
Like,
what am I
benefiting
from, like, quite literally, like, look at my background, like, do you have any place to even say that?
Or it's one of those things of like, oh, enabling me to what? Be dependent? I don't want to be dependent. I hate it.
This is I can be as independent as possible.
Yeah, it's like I am the most independent, needy person like I've ever met. I go, and so it's like enabling me to what? Be dependent? That sucks more for me than anyone else. But like that shit pisses me off so much when someone with like mental health shit, it's like, I get that you've been fed this image of like mental health means like you're just crying all the time or you can't do anything. And like, I guess like the people who actually need it can just go fuck off, because apparently because I don't cry how I'm supposed to, like my needs can just fuck off.
It doesn't show up how they expect. That same thing happens with like certain of my like.
But God, people who want to feel helpful but not be helpful, that gets under my skin so fucking much, because it's like, oh well, I like, will you help me or not? And then it's like, well, I can't do this, whatever. It's like, okay, here's a list.
Or like commit. How about you tell me like what my thing is, like people being like, yeah, I'll actually do that, and then not fucking do it, and then I go into a whole I can spiral just from that, because I'm like, well, I just spent an hour giving you information on how you can help me. Like I wasted the energy that I could be spending on all these other tasks. And that took like 10 times the amount of like energy for so many things. You have no fucking idea how many hours of prep, how many whatever, and like.
And that's like part of the reason why I want to have like more like support groups with like people who like would have been previously diagnosed as Asperger's, but like it's now labeled autistic. Because I was explaining that to like Ashley and somebody else. Because like Linda one time was telling me, she's like, well, you'll get better at like making phone calls and stuff like that. I go, here's the thing. And because I've had a decade's worth of therapy, people can say fucked up shit to me like that. And like, I can handle it better, because it's not like, someone who's like never experienced that. But I was like, I go, here's the thing. There are certain things that are painful for me, and like I don't mean physically painful, but like mentally and emotionally painful, and it's never gonna like not be painful. Like if you were to take my hand and put it on the table and take a hammer and smash it, I'm going to freak out. It's gonna hurt. Eventually, if it happens all the time, maybe I'll get to a point where I'm not freaking out as much, but like it still hurts. I go, with calling places and things like that, it's not that it's ever going to get easier. Like, it's going to suck every single time. It's like someone's taking a hammer and hammering my hand. It's not, I go, there's a difference between anxiety and feeling like mental and emotional pain. I go, I have anxiety. Anxiety is something you can push through. Anxiety is like working out, and you can challenge yourself, and eventually it gets easier and you get stronger. I go, autism isn't that. It's not like it's
and I
different.
work through it. And like, I think when you have the ability to make like
it's different. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
people associate like, oh, you have trouble with this because
or
you have
somebody telling
anxiety.
me,
It's
if
like,
they tell me exactly I'm having anxiety when I'm like, no, I'm not having anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is the tone that I have like in that moment. Like they
Yeah.
expect somebody to be totally different, and I'm like, no, I don't have anxiety. And I think because of like how I
Yeah.
try to communicate what's going on in my body,
no, I'm sorry, you're a dumbass.
Yeah, like I don't want to have to change how I describe my own personal experience so that somebody else understands me better.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I really struggle with is like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm being as fucking clear as I can be.
Yeah.
And like I am. I'm like, what do you want me to do though? Because like I can't be like the I'm fine thing is a great example because it's like for me that is my fine. That is my baseline. That is my like I get hit in the hammer physically all the time. And so like my I'm fine looks different than the rest of whole fucking society because like it is subjective.
Well,
like,
and I think the biggest thing too, because again, therapy is like you can't change anybody else. You can only like change you. And so like that has also helped me a lot. Like confide in people and like talk to people and have people who I call my support team who actually like listen to me. Cause like Jordan, like how he's like, no, I know when you get calm, whatever. And like, you know, there are certain people in my life who like talk about enabling and who talk about like whatever. And those are people that like, if I need help with something, I just don't go to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, and I think it's hard because like there are people in your life who like you're told you can rely on, like family or like close friends. It's like, but you might have a really close friend that like, but you can't rely on them for stuff. Like there might be people who've like gone above and beyond for you, but like if you want help with something, like they're not gonna help you. And I think just accepting like people with like where they're at is fine and okay. Like it definitely like sucks, but I noticed myself. Yeah, and
I used to try to change everybody.
And I noticed like myself communicating like about certain things with certain people like a lot less because it's like if I communicate with you, then I'm like inadvertently opening the door to your input and like no offense, but I don't want it. Like I don't like you don't know what you're talking about and I don't have the patience to educate you and it's not my job to do that. So it's like got it. I won't be talking about this with you anymore.
Well, they're not open to receive it. Like,
that's
I've run into is like I used to talk to people like talking into a wall, and like I'll still get into that. And I think that's when I'll talk about things I'm really interested in. But I used to try to change them so that the situation would change. But like now I've learned like because I've been in a lot of therapy as well is like. But also, I've done like a lot of therapy on myself. Like I've taken books, I've taken time, I've journaled. Like I put that work into myself. Where like you can talk at a certain level when you've invested in yourself and you learn about who you are. Like that changes the whole picture too. And there's not everybody's going to be able to understand like.
And boundaries is a huge fucking thing. And Keely and I have both been like doing a really good job working on boundaries, but also like realizing kind of what our capabilities are or like what we have the capacity for. Because that was kind of one of the things of like when Keely was going through something, she would talk to me a lot about stuff. And like as like her friend, I wanted to be there for her and I wanted to like be like her emotional support system. But then I learned like I'm not able to do that like effectively and it's like killing me inside. And so like I then had to, and also, and to be fair, like I wouldn't necessarily respond to things in the best way. Like I've gotten better at like hearing things and being kind of like emotionally validating versus like trying to fix it. Cause it's like, because people are telling you something not because they want your advice. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But like I was learning with Keely, like she didn't want my like unsolicited advice and stuff. And I was like constantly giving it. And so it was kind of one of those things like, I'm not good at this. And then eventually we got better at like, she would say, I just want to like tell you this, I don't want whatever. And I'm good at asking like, ooh, can I give my opinion? But also when it comes to like a lot of emotional stuff, I also had to like set boundaries and be like, okay, like I can't handle this right now, but like, can you call me later? And like, and it makes a good point, but it's one of those of like, I didn't realize that like, I didn't have the capacity for certain shit. And, and like,
well, and
all of that
I ran my life like full bar forever. Like, just running like a bull all over the place, doing everything for everybody all the time. And like, it's been a progressive, like, it's not an overnight thing. Like, I think there was a light bulb And then as I worked on myself more, it was like figuring out, like you said, boundaries with certain people. And it's something I'm still working on. Like, I'm never an expert on anything in this world because, like, you can constantly, like...
Well, and I'd much rather be, like, a, like, physically supportive friend. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, people can come to me and stuff. But, like,
But that's
if you want someone...
you can offer.
Yeah,
and,
but
like,
it's like
wait, and
calling me in the middle of the night crying. It's one of those things. So I had a friend, well, he's not going to care. So my buddy Decker, years ago, his dog was dying or got put to sleep. And so I'm up at like 4 a.m, texting him, making sure he's okay and everything. And then he's like, yeah, I'm okay. But like, he wasn't okay. So then I like went over and basically like kidnapped him. It was like, all right, you're coming to our house. So then he like came over to our apartment. I brought him over, and then like he's sleeping on the couch or whatever, and like he really needed a hug, and my friend Katie was close by, so I called Katie. I'm like, Katie, come over. Decker really needs a hug, because at that point in time, like, even though like I'm there for you, I'm not giving you what you need,
right?
And so, and I could see that, so I called Katie. Katie came over, gave him a hug, and then like I slept on the floor, and he slept on the couch, like to make sure like he wasn't alone and okay and everything. But like when you really like hone into like what you're capable of, it's like I can be there for my friend, and if I'm not able to give them something, I can like essentially outsource it.
Right.
But like having
that's smart to do.
But like and like having a group or a community. But I think with people
nobody ever is gonna have all the qualities.
But that's what I think about like people who want to feel helpful versus be helpful. I think they get offended by someone else like offering that help. It's like they want to be the one to like help, and it's like, okay, but like you're not like you're not
right.
Or you're like I don't know, but I'm just kind of I really do wish there were, or it's like whenever help comes with strings attached. You know what I mean?
I'm still terrible at like understanding when that happens and when it doesn't. Because I feel like I went through a situation where it was like I was told that there weren't any strings attached, but then like
that happens all the time. Yeah,
but then I don't know. I get confused with that. I really do. Yeah. I get confused, and like,
or
that also makes me think of like hookups in college.
But like, or if
they thought it was like something more was going. I don't know.
But that's why I also struggle with like indirect communications or boundaries, because like if someone's assistance has a time limit on it, I want to know that ahead of time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's like
or specific boundaries within that, and it's like
it's not like I don't want boundaries. I want you to
tell me because like I can't read your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
And like not that I can't pick up certain like my intuition is like decent, but there's things I don't like. If you're not, I'm gonna take what you're telling me like very, very frankly.
And that's the thing with where I get like frustrated with holistic people is it's like
they'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna call you, and I expect like the call, and then a call won't.
Yeah, or it's just like it's like we're both speaking English, but we're both speaking different English. It's like it's like in sign language. It's like, English.
It's sign language Jamaican versus like
no, but it's like sign language. Like they're both in English, but one is a different English than the other. And it's like, because an holistic person, it's like, well, this is what I mean when I say this, and like I'm like, well, this is the actual definition of the word. Like what you mean by it is irrelevant. Like I get that you're in your own head and like in your world,
like I don't know.
Like the definition of words isn't what you mean by it.
Everybody has their own definitions to these words. When it's like, no, you go to the dictionary and this is exactly what it means, and that's how I'm using it. Where are you getting this other shit from?
And so, and if like someone leaves something open-ended, I assume it's open-ended. And so, like, I remember Keely and I once, this is just a funny example, but like, when we first became friends, like there was certain things I would notice there was like a communication barrier, and like I can read people really well, but like if someone is irritated with me, I don't know why, I just know they are. And so like with Keely, I was telling her once, and I was like, yeah, no, like what? And she's like, well, I'm just frustrated because we talked about like having a garage sale or whatever, but like we never did. And I was like, oh yeah. I go, no, like when I said we could have a garage sale, I meant just that, like we could. I didn't mean like we're going to and we'll schedule it. I go, if you want to schedule it and do all that, that's great. I go, but if I say things like, oh, we could do this, it's a possibility. I I am not committing. Like very literal. And it's like other stuff too, where it's like if someone says like, oh, I'm gonna help you with laundry or something, in my mind it's like, okay, now this person will always help me with laundry. But if someone's like me here, and I came over for a day and you had a list and it was like, ooh, I'll do these 3 things, like I'm coming over to help you with what you need help with today.
Yeah.
And then we cross off the list, and today it wasn't like a
that's all I would pick up on is like we just scheduled it for that date.
Unless
we said like,
that's why I like
unless
that.
we said like once a week we're going to be doing
well,
blah,
that's
blah,
the thing
blah,
too,
at
is
this time, like that's how that makes sense.
well,
to me
and
then.
other people are under, like holistic people are under the impression that they're being direct and very clear, when like no, like you're not, because in your, and I think this is more of like a white people thing too, is that because not all white people, but like a lot of white people, there's this like sense of like being rude or being not
you
polite.
can't be direct. You can't be
so
like forward or blunt. Like blunt is seen as a bad thing, which I'm like I was told to not be so direct when I was in nursing school. Like by another white lady, and she's
like
you can't
think
do that, like that's offensive, and I was like, this is exactly.
I'm offended that you're not this way.
Exactly. Like it's safer to be fucking direct. Like so my tone increased because I was like no, do you not understand this? Like this is, you could kill people that way. Like there are large implications for not being direct. Like what are you talking about? Like pussyfoot around so I please the doctor. Like there was something about that, and I was like, I'm not going to do that when somebody's life is in my hands. Like if I'm studying everything so that I won't kill somebody. Like I took my job as a nursing student and thereafter like very seriously.
Well, and it's one of those things of like it can be like perceived as rude to be really direct, like with, and again, I think it's a very like Midwestern white people thing too, because like that's kind of our culture. So when I'm comparing people,
like, I'm comparing. There was somebody from Boston too. That, like I got along with, because like you're really direct, and I was like, yay, and she's like, people think I'm terrible, and I'm like, no, you're amazing, and she's like, why they don't understand that?
I think like, it's rude that like
that's why
you're
like
not
guys
saying what
I
you
would
mean.
get along with like more often for like a lot of my life. Like I would go and just like hang out with the dudes because I was like, it's
a more direct communication style.
I know where they stand with them. Like I know they're gonna tell me and like be upfront if it's like something.
Yeah, like I don't like this. Don't do
and
it.
It's not gonna impact us. Then they just won't say shit, and it's just like whatever. You
know?
I think
like, it's another like thing too, where people take things really personally, and I'm not trying to like generalize a group of people that take things personally, because like anyone can take things personally, but like there are certain things that like I will just say or do that like I don't know, like if someone I don't know, like if like you got a brand new shirt or something and I didn't like it, and I was just like, oh, that's a new shirt. And you're like, yeah, do you like it? And I'd be like, no, not really. And it'd be like, okay. And like life goes on. But like sometimes, like for certain people, it's like, oh, so da 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 da. I'm like, that's not what I said. But I've also have amazing friends in my life that I've known forever, and like we tell each other like all that all the time. And like Jordan sometimes be like, what, how do you like this? I'm like, I don't really. He's like, well, I look amazing in it, so I'm gonna wear it. It's like, okay. But like there are certain people, like when I'll like go back home or like with certain like family members or whatever, and it's like, well, what do you think of this? I'm like, oh, I don't like it. It's like, you're such a bitch. I'm like, I guess, I don't know. Like, you're ugly. Like you look like shit.
Like my mom, I had to like, so she just makes a face. Like she grew up with my grandma, like my grandpa, military, so military brat, like 7 kids, Catholic family, and so she was taught like not polite to just like say something straight out, but like her personality, like she'll just kind of go through it and just be like, not my favorite. Like, I'm like, mom, like that is blunt in that environment that she grew up in. Like that would have been like, no. But I don't know where I was going with that.
No, and it's funny too, because like a lot of my friends before I meet people will give other people like a disclaimer about me, which I didn't realize till like later in life, but it's really funny. And so I was working this one.
Disclaimer though.
You'd have to ask them. So
See, now I
but,
I was talking to somebody else who said like,
hold on.
okay.
So,
I also need to pee like really bad.
Do you need your
I
chair?
waited too long. I needed to go like 30 minutes ago,
Okay.
and then I kind of forgot about it.
all right, here, I'll give you your chair back. I'm gonna go raid the kitchen for snacks too, quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, and I'm gonna end this, and then we'll be back.
Okay, here, go put that in there while you're up there.